Hey there, I'm Chris with SourceGraph. In this video, we will be talking about an overview of all of the Cody for VS Code features. There's a lot to go through, so let's get started. Here I have my VS Code open, and over here in my sidebar, I have the Cody icon. So if you click that, you'll be introduced to Cody, and this is kind of your home base for Cody. There are your commands, there's your history of chats here, and there's your settings and support. Now, I like to say that one of the first ways to get started with Cody and AI coding in general is checking out this Cody tutorial. So if you go over here into settings and support, you'll see there's a tutorial button there. If you click that, you're going to get the Welcome to Cody tutorial. So learn how to use Cody to write, edit, fix code by completing 4 tasks. So these 4 tasks will make up the basis of all your AI coding with Cody. And you can mix and match these 4 techniques so that you can do any task that you have to do in coding. So task number 1, this is probably the one you'll see the most, autocomplete. Anytime you're typing, you'll see Cody start to give suggestions as you type. So here we have this greet function here. Place your cursor at the end, so I will place it right here. And autocomplete, Cody was able to read the line above it, greet a user with a simple message. So it said, oh, this is the comment. This is the function that I'm in. I'm going to do that. So all you have to do to accept it is press tab, or you can actually jump through suggestions and Cody will do a couple suggestions, maybe more. You can click next and say, oh, return hello name, or you can switch back to the other one, print. I like this one. I'm going to press tab here. So whenever you see a suggestion like that, you'll see a placeholder. You can press tab to accept the suggestion. And a lot of times you'll even see Cody do multi-line autocompletes, which is great. All right, task number 2, editing code with instruction. So place your cursor on the empty line below and press Option K to open the edit code input. Now this is cool because it's the edit code command, but notice we're not really editing code. We're inserting code into a blank line. So this is something that you can do. You can just open up the edit panel with Option K. And it'll jump up here, and this is a way to edit code, and in this case, insert code. So I'll say function that finds logs in a directory, and this is auto-filled by the tutorial. You can click submit, you can change the range of your cursor, you can even change your model, and here I have GPT-4o, and we'll talk more about that in the later parts of this video. So I'm gonna press enter here to submit this edit, and Cody is working. There we are. So task 2 of 4, edit code with instruction, and it was able to insert this whole thing right here, a function that finds logs in a given directory. It even wrote this little comment here to help us out. All right. Task 3 of 4, ask Cody to fix. So Cody is intelligent in that it can use the little red squiggly line, the error in VS Code, and you can click this light bulb right here and say, ask Cody to fix, and Cody will do that for you. So you ask Cody to fix. This is pretty much like an edit command, except it knows the context of the error. So it went ahead and fixed the line right there. And task number 4, start a chat. We can start a chat by Option L right here. And notice we have a chat window on the right side right there. And you can start chatting with this. How did I do in this tutorial? I found it helpful. And this is how you can chat with Cody. So there's a lot of great things to do with Cody. These 4 tasks are something we're going to talk about further in this video, and we'll talk about a little more details in each one. And overall, these put together, these techniques will help you write any bits of code in your code base. All right, so let's close that out. I'm going to open up a form that I have, a chat form, which is a React component, and I'll be working in here for a little bit. So here I have this chat form. One thing that I want to do is say, let's do some autocomplete. This is a React TypeScript component, so I should have types. Notice I haven't added any types here. So one way we can do this is I'm going to press enter. I'm going to say add a repo type. And notice how the autocomplete kind of said add a repo type. So it sometimes gets into this loop where it repeats what you're saying. We don't want that. So we just give Cody a hint by saying type. And there we go. So it was able to look at that, give me a multi-line autocomplete, and start giving me some feedback on what I can write. I can press tab to accept all of that. But I say, oh, that might be a little too many properties for what I need. So I'm going to say properties are ID and name. That's all I want here. And notice that it's doing the loop thing again. That's okay. I'll set type. There we go. So now it knows that I only want the ID. I only want the name. Type is repo type. There we go. So you have to give the AI a little bit of hints to let it know exactly what you're doing. In this case, I had to write 2 comments. And there's a repos here, and there's a set repos. So I'm going to write type for the set repos function. And Cody was able to say, oh, this is probably what you want. Let me press tab there to accept that. And that is a way that we can help Cody understand what we're doing. So autocomplete and setting comments, giving it hints by starting to write what you're trying to do, those things put together will give you a lot of strength in what you're doing. So there's a couple different ways I can add types to this. I can go down here and press colon. And I'll keep typing. And there. So Cody was able to say, oh, they want to add types right here. Let me add all this right here. Handle change repos. Notice it uses the repo type from earlier that I made. Set repos type as well. This was a Boolean, and a string. So I can tab to autocomplete. And notice I didn't have to write all of that. I just had to give a couple hints earlier with comments and typing out some code to start. And Cody was able to do the rest. I can also do this above here. Chat form types. Type chat form props. There we go. So that was a great autocomplete as well. And notice, as I get more familiar with these techniques, you'll see that Cody starts to help more and more, and I get a little more productive. Autocomplete's great because you don't leave the flow of your code. So I'm going to delete all of this right here. So that's autocomplete. That's one way to talk to Cody. That's one way to give hints to the AI to tell it what you want to do. The next thing we'll talk about is chat. I think this is something that you're going to do a lot, especially if you have a large piece of code and you don't know what's going on with it. There's a couple different things you can do. So I can highlight this, and Option K is to edit, Option L is to chat. I am going to open a chat window with Option L. And here, let me talk about the overall format of how our chat box works. We are going to have the @s0 and @chat form. So what do these mean? @s0 is the repo that I am currently in, my local workspace, and @chat form is the file that I'm currently in. See chatform.tsx, and it says, okay, basically Cody is saying, I want to look at both of these things when you ask your question. And let's say I don't want the full context of the whole repo. I can delete S0 right here. And let's say I don't want the full context of this form. I can delete that. Or if I wanted to add another file and say, hey, Cody, help me add types to this file. Take a look at, and then you could add another file, chat column, to get inspiration. So that's how you can add context. And context is really a very important thing when you're chatting with Cody. This gives Cody a little bit more information about exactly what you want to create and where you should pull information from. So let's say I want to add types to this file. I don't need that chat column. That was more for just a quick example of how to add a file as context. And really, I don't need the whole repo. So I can delete the whole repo here. Help me add types to this file. I'm asking this question. Cody will look at this specific file. The other thing I want you to notice is that we have our LLM drop down here. And we have Claude 3 Opus, GPT-4o, Mixtral, Claude 3 Sonnet. So you can pick and choose what LLM you like best. Claude 3 Opus is very strong and great at coding, but a little bit slower. GPT-4o is smart and fast. So It depends on what you want. Claude 3 Opus is great at, I think, a little bit more complex tasks. GPT-4o, really fast, very smart as well. In this case, we'll use 4o. All right, let's run that. Context is one item. It said, okay, I only want to look at this one file that you're working in. And here we go, chat form props. We have our interface here that it created. Repos is a string array, which isn't exactly what I wanted. So we'll have to ask Cody a little bit more on that. And it gave me all of that. Great, so it's continuing the file. I'm gonna ask it a couple more questions before we finish this out. It also added props down below, which I definitely need to do. And I actually forgot that those functions were down there. So thank you, Cody. All right, the repos prop should have properties of ID and name. You just did an array of strings. Okay, cool. So it's updating the repo. There we go. It created a repo interface there with an ID of string, a name of string, and it did the set repos function correctly. So that's great. Now you can copy and go move this into your file right here, and that's another way to get to the conclusion that you want when you're writing code. So we have autocomplete. We are doing chat right now. Let's do another chat example. So this, I want to talk a little bit more about the chat features, specifically around context. I'm going to open up a few files. I have chat column, and I have chat column read only. So I created these two files. They're like 99% the same, except one is a read only version, one is a normal version. What I'll do here is open up a chat, and here I have S0 as my repo context, chat column as my file context. LLM of choice is GPT-4o right now. So what I'll say is, help me make this file, help me merge this file with @ and the @ symbol lets us bring in context. And I have files here, symbols, and notice I have a couple experimental things that we're working with. We have a project called OpenCTX, which lets us bring in context from outside your editor. And it's an experimental thing. I'll create a new video on this in the future. But if you want to learn more, go to openctx.org, and then you can start to pull in different providers for context. Notice I have Docs here. I have Google Docs, SourceGraph Search. You can even pull in from Slack, Linear, Jira, all that good stuff. For now, I'm going to stick to my files example, and I'll add chat column read only. Help me merge this file with chat column read only. And I have repo context here. I have two file contexts, and I'll run this. And since I had full repo context here, it said, oh, go look at the repo, find relevant files for my question. So if we look at the context, it had the two files that we mentioned here, chat column read only, and then other files that it found relevant. It goes ahead and gives us a whole merged component. And if you look here, it has an is read only prop. So that means this one component can handle the editor version and the read only version. So that's great, Cody. Thank you. And I'll scroll down. I'll let this work. Gives us the whole file so we can just copy and paste it right in. Here we go. Very thorough. I love that. All right, we should be close to done. This is a gigantic file now. There we go. Gives an explanation at the end, and I can copy this right here with this button. So I could copy it, paste all that in, and now I have a full file that is one component, not two components. And this was merged read only. So there's a couple things I want to call out here as far as how chat works and how you can retry prompts and choose new context for your prompts so that you can get the exact answer that you were looking for. First of all, down here, you can call out if this was a positive or a needs improvement chat. And then you can try again with different context. So right now I have 3 bits of context. I have the repo, I have the chat form, I have the chat column read only files. You could try with public knowledge only, which means remove any local code context, and just try it with the LLM as if we were talking directly to GPT-4o. You can try it with current file only. We don't want this one, but it is helpful if you want to remove the repo context. You can also add context and specifically go and create more links to files or maybe specific symbols. And then another thing you can do, and notice that it already did it, so it jumped me to the top of this chat and it lets you retry the prompt. So let's say I wanted to retry this with Claude 3 Opus. So I could switch my LLM, I could remove this repo context here. I only want those 2 files, and then I could run this again, and it'll retry that prompt with the exact context that I wanted, with a different LLM, and it'll give me a different answer. With the ability to try out different prompts, try out different LLMs, try out different contexts, we give you a lot of flexibility now with the way that you can retry prompts. So I encourage you to try to tweak things if you don't get the correct answer the first time. Tweak context, tweak your prompt itself, add more context, and try it again with maybe a different LLM. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is commands. And commands are very, very powerful. They let you do a lot of repeatable tasks in Cody. Let's say for here, I want to actually add documentation to this. So I could go over here, and here's chat form right here. I'll do Option L and say, add documentation to this component. And Cody will go ahead and write the doc for me. So there you go. It gives me the params. It does all that good stuff and keeps going. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to actually we have a pre-built command for this called document. And if you click the Cody sidebar here, there's a document code command. I'll click it. And it does an edit directly in file and adds all of that directly to your function. So that's very helpful. It doesn't just work for top level functions. If you go down here, let me delete that. There's Option D to document, so you can see that shortcut there, Option D. Cody's working, adds the documentation right there. You can see our other documented commands. We have document code, explain code, generate unit tests, find code smells, which is kind of a humbling thing because it tells you what's wrong with your code. Let me go look at chat column, find code smells. Please review and analyze. Avoid unused imports, consistent import order, use descriptive comments. So it looks at these files and tells you what you could improve and gives you the improvements that could be made. There is generate unit tests, which is also a very, very important one. Here I have my chat form. I'll just click generate unit tests. And Cody actually creates a brand new file with your test. It knows that we're using testing library. It knows this form that we're in. And it actually creates the test cases for us. So renders chat form with initial props, calls handle change when input changes, calls handle submit when form is submitted. So that's all great there. Another thing we can do is add custom commands. When we're talking about custom commands, I have one called add prop types here. Let me show you how to create a brand new command. Let me open up a brand new file. And this is an API route I have here. Notice that it has no code documentation. It's kind of a very confusing file. So one thing that I personally like to do is there's the document code command. I actually like to create a documentation command where it says find all the important lines and give me documentation for the important lines. What I'll do here is I'll click custom commands and I'll click new custom command. Document lines is the name of this command. And we have 3 different options for for marker. And we have 3 different options for a custom command. You can ask, so this means it will open up the Cody chat in the sidebar, or you can edit, it's replace existing code immediately, which I like. Insert above the selected code. So I'm going to do edit here. Look through the code and add documentation and comments for important lines. This code is hard to understand, so please help me make sense of it. And you may need to tweak your custom commands. Write one, try it out, write it again, try it out. I'll press enter there. And this is fun because we get to choose the context that this command will have. We can have the selected code, which we'll immediately have because we want Cody to look at that. I'll also add in the current file code. So I want Cody to look at the whole file to kind of get an understanding of what the whole file does. It's not going to edit the whole file. It'll just edit the selected code, but it gives it more context about what we're doing. You could even do open tabs, current directory. I will keep it to just selected code and current file. I'll press OK. I'll save this to my user settings. And let me just highlight this function right here. And I will click document lines. All right, there we go. That's a little bit easier to read. Extract relevant data, generate unique identifier, scroll down more, bang a post request, stream the response, insert in the database. So that gives you a little bit more understanding of what is happening in this code. That is the document command, the smell command, test command, and custom commands. And the last command that I want to talk about, which I guess is so important that I hesitate to call it a command, is the edit command. If I'm back here in the chat forum, let me just remove all of this stuff here. What we can do is highlight all of this, Option K here, and I'll say add prop types to this. Add types to these props. Repos has properties, I can't type today, of ID and name. All right, so we'll click submit, range of selection, model GPT-4o, like we've been doing this whole video. Click submit there. All right, interface repo, interface chat form props. So it did all of that stuff that we did earlier with autocomplete, with chat, but it just did it in line. So this, I think, is a very powerful thing. I use edit a lot. And the more that you do edit commands, I think the more you'll get used to just having AI write your code for you. All right, we've done a lot in this video, and I hope this was helpful in learning how to code with AI using Cody in VS Code. And I hope that these techniques put together will start to get you a little bit more productive day in and day out. And the more that you use these commands and techniques and autocomplete and edit, the more you'll get to be closer to that 10x, 100x, 1000x developer, because I think truly AI is what gets us there. Thanks for watching.